Hey, what's up everybody? Now first of all, just to let you know, this is the first video I'm doing with my new 8 GB memory card. And if you don't believe me, here's the original, well, at least the original, the 2 gig, right there. Now I'm not saying that this 8 gig is going to be a permanent deal. If it doesn't work, then of course I'll have to try to get my money back, maybe not. But I got it from Digital Media Source, so apparently from what I understand they're pretty good, and from what I've also understand they're associated with Amazon, so Amazon.com, so that kind of helps out. Now, as you see up there, I'm here to talk about some news that came out of WWE last night on Raw. There's apparently some other news still going on. Now, the two big news basically is the Hall of Fame and the names of the two new names to the 2012 Hall of Fame. Now, the first name that was announced was Edge. Now, a lot of people feel this is a little too soon for Edge. A lot of people were hoping Edge would probably get inducted maybe around in Toronto. I don't know, when WrestleMania would go back there. But this is the way I look at it with WWE, because they did this before, and it's not a surprise that they're doing it again. It's not a surprise. You see, I know everybody says that I know some people will ask, well, when have they done this before? Well, believe it or not, they did this before back in 2006. Now I know you're thinking, oh well, they did that because he passed away, and that was to continue to honor his legacy. Yes, they did that to honor Eddie Guerrero's legacy. Excuse me. But they could have waited a little bit. I mean, look at some of the superstars and legends that passed on before him. You know, Junkyard Dog, Big John Studd. You know, they've had the Hall of Fame before this. They could have easily inducted them at that time as well. You know what I'm saying? They could have easily inducted them maybe afterwards or whenever. Heck, 93 when they inducted Andre and all that, and 96 and all that. You know, they could have inducted them then, but they didn't. They waited, and they waited until WrestleMania 20. Get what I'm saying? But apparently WWE is now going by a new philosophy. You see, it's pretty much known, it's pretty much well known, that someone like Edge, I do agree, seems to be a little young to be going into the Hall of Fame. Matter of fact, I think Edge right now holds the distinction of being the youngest member of the WWE Hall of Fame. I could be wrong, but I think he's the youngest member. Why? Well, let's take a look. He was born in the 70s, wasn't he? There's your answer. If the guy was born in the 70s and all that, he's a little young to be going into the Hall of Fame. But here's the deal. We all know Eddie Guerrero was the exception because he passed on a little too soon. Now, like I said, they could have waited on Eddie maybe a few years and all that, but they wanted to induct him that very year to continue honoring his legacy and what he had done for the business. Now, you take a look at some other inductees. Ric Flair, for example. Ric Flair, a couple years ago, before WrestleMania 24, was inducted into the Hall of Fame the night before he faced Shawn Michaels. And guess what? When he was inducted, he was still kind of actively competing. But I think everybody knew he was getting towards the end of his career, or at least towards the end of being very active in the ring like he used to be. So there's the thing, so there's the situation right there. That's another exception, but he had been in the business a lot longer than Eddie Guerrero, a lot longer than Edge, a lot longer than Shawn Michaels. And speaking of Shawn Michaels, a year after he retires, what happens? He ends up going into the Hall of Fame. And now Edge is next. Basically, what WWE, I think, is probably doing right now, this is just a thought, it's just my own personal opinion, they probably figure, why not induct those people that are retiring right off the bat, that have made an impact in this business in recent memory, in the recent decades and all that, why not induct them now and not wait? Because honestly, I think this is WWE's philosophy, guys. I think WWE looks at this like, well, we could wait until we have a Mania in Toronto, or we could wait until Mania 30, or even next year in 29 to induct Edge. But here's the thing, just like with Shawn Michaels, and just like possibly with other people in that same category in the near future, just like a lot of them, just like those same, basically just like anybody in that same category, you don't know what's up the road. They don't know if something's going to happen to the person they want to induct or plan to induct in the future or not. Now again, I understand a lot of people feel it's a little too soon for Edge. But you know what? It's their decision. In my honest opinion, like I said, I think it's because they don't know what's up the road for Edge. They don't know if he's going to be able to come to the Hall of Fame. They don't even know if perhaps another company, let's say TNA or even Ring of Honor, approaches him and says, hey, we want you to work for us now. They don't even know if, let's say, a company like UFC is going to come up and say, hey, we want you to work with us. They don't know that. All they know is they don't want to take any chances, and that's why they're doing this. Now, I know a lot of you will also say, well, Brian, they're apparently also doing it for ratings. They know if they induct somebody that just recently competed in the ring and was forced to retire, and he's a big name star, that's going to bring in ratings. Yeah, it probably will bring in ratings. But you got to understand, like I said, WWE, it's not just the ratings deal, but again, like I said, WWE apparently doesn't want to take any chances for what could happen up and down the road. Now, with Shawn Michaels, they could have waited too. They could have waited a couple of years. But I think that is this new philosophy they're working on. If they've been in the business, if they've been recently in the business and have had to retire because they decided it's time to step down, hang up the boots, or they were forced into it, or, let's say in the case of the late great Eddie Guerrero, passed on before their prime, then they should be inducted right away. We shouldn't have to wait. Let's not take chances. Let's induct them right away. And apparently that's the new philosophy for the more recently retired or forced into retirement stars or superstars or wrestlers that they're inducting, like Edge. And again, like I said, I agree, maybe it's a little too soon for Edge, but to me that's the philosophy they're going by. Now, as far as the Four Horsemen go, that itself is a nutshell in itself. That itself is a decision that WWE made, apparently with the confidence that they're going to be able to get Ric Flair. I mean, I know a lot of people are assuming, oh, Ric Flair's in TNA. No way TNA is going to say, oh, go ahead. Go to WWE Hall of Fame and be inducted with your friends. Ain't no way they're going to do that. Ain't no way. People would say, ain't no way. And I agree, maybe ain't no way. But you know what? They will. Because I've got a feeling Ric Flair could be leaving TNA real soon. Now, I know you're thinking, well, he's paired up with Gunner right now. There's no way they're going to loosen that up. Let me explain something. If Ric Flair, who loves wrestling, who has said that he would die in this ring, he would rather die in that ring competing than anything. If he hears that his closest friends in the whole world, in the ring, outside of the ring, on the screen, off the screen, were being inducted as a group, and he were being inducted as a group, the very group that was the foundation, if you will, for future groups like DX, NWO, Evolution, Legacy, and the list goes on, Nexus, the Core, you know, the Clique, if you will. If you think Ric Flair for 1 second is not going to want to, is just going to want to sit idly by and watch a group that he helped create, that he helped founded, get inducted into the Hall of Fame without him, you're wrong. And this is where he might get out of his contract, if not for a temporary period. In other words, what I'm saying is he might say, okay, I'm going to leave TNA for a little bit. I might come back in a few months or something like that to be associated with Gunner again if you still have him around. That's my assumption. They can get out of the contract on a temporary basis, kind of like a loophole, if you will. I'm pretty sure wrestlers and legends could do that. And then come back later on. That's just my opinion. I mean, I know TNA doesn't want one of the superstars, one of the big names going back to the competition, if you will. Sorry, just taking my time there. But to me, I think that's the only way Ric Flair is going to be able to get inducted along with the other Horsemen. Is if he finds a way out of his contract, if just for a short period, and then returns to TNA. People have been known to do that in any kind of sport or entertainment kind of business, from what I understand. It's just trying to reach an agreement that says, hey, look, I have to be part of this. This is very important to me. And I promise, when it's all said and done, I'll be back working with you guys full time or whatever. I think Dixie Carter and the Carter family might be understanding to just let him take this one opportunity to do it. I mean, look, he was at the Hall of Fame ceremony last year when Shawn Michaels got inducted. We didn't see him, but we know he was there. So, what I'm saying, folks, is I think he'll find a way. I think he knows how to get inducted at the same time the other Horsemen do. I think he's going to find a way. And if it means he might be back with the company full time or as an ambassador or whatever, and TNA's done, and he's done with TNA, then hey, that's good. It's great. But I don't think so. I think Ric Flair is smart enough, because he's been in the business long enough, and I mean long enough, to realize, okay, I got to do this. If they let me do this, that's fine, as long as I come back. I mean, look, my sister, I'll give you an example. My sister, she quit her job in Modesto, her original job, to go work for this other job. And this other job wasn't her dream, wasn't everything she thought. And she called back her other job, and she called back her old job, and they took her back. Just like that. So what I'm saying is, I'm sure Ric Flair could tell TNA and the Dick Carter family that this means a lot to him. This is very important to him. He wants to be part of it. I'm sure they'll understand. They'll probably let him out of his contract just for that, for the time being, just for that. Let him get inducted. So let him get inducted as an ex-TNA employee, and all that, as a WWE legend. And then after it's all said and done, let him come back and work with TNA. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to do something like that. And that's how I believe Ric Flair is going to get into the be inducted into the Hall of Fame along with the other Horsemen. So that's all I'm going to say on the Hall of Fame news. We do have one more name that's going to join the Horsemen, Edge, and Mil Mascaras. And I'll give you a hint. He was the heaviest WWE champion in the 90s. Figure that one out. And that's all I'm going to say. Comment down below if you like, and I'll talk to you later.